Good evening again, everyone. My name's Charles Fernandez, and I'm a 3D artist, modeler, general troublemaker. And today, I'm going to be going a little further into sculpting with Oculus Medium, which is a virtual reality sculpting program that I am in the process of exploring. So I'm by no means an expert, and I still have a lot to learn, but you are more than welcome to come with me on this. So let's begin. First thing, I might want to get the water off of my lenses. My hair is still a little wet. If you have any questions and I happen to know the answer to them, I will be happy to answer them for you. So feel free to chime in, ask away. Wow, this is all kinds of messed up. Alright, so I will not be using this. It's out of whack. I plan to load up a scene that I've already created, and I will call it, well, it is called default. So I will load it. It is a basic scene with nothing in it, but I've got lights, and a mouse. Let's get this mouse out of here before I get hit with another copyright infringement. Okay, so we've got that, but I'm going to bring in a couple of reference images so that I can show you one of the things that I'm planning on setting up. Like, I want to start in this scene every time because I have the lights the way I want it. I have a red one here, a yellow one here, I have a blue key light here, and a spotlight here. So that when I add a layer, which I have in this handy start here, whenever I create something, it'll be lit the way that I want it to. It's got a nice little backlight, it's got some color here and some color there, but it's also got this nice front light, which lets me see kind of what I need to do. But before I get started here, I'm going to import a couple of reference images. First, I have to track them down. That ain't it. Here they are. Okay, so I'll be bringing this in one at a time. I'd like to be... Oh, apparently I can bring them in all at once. That's handy. That is handy information to have. I wonder what happens if I add them all at once. Ah ha ha ha! Looky there. Nice. Oh, these all come in at the same size. That's perfect. I will be doing this then. First order of business, be moving this one here. Take this one, move it around. Kind of get that as lined up as I can so that we have the front and the back. And I took care to make sure that the front and the back, as well as the sides, all line up together. I drew this reference for myself so that I could create a decently accurate anatomic study. Now this is the way I normally do things in Maya or any other 3D package that I'm working in, but this will be the first time I'm using it in a virtual reality setting. The controls are a little sensitive for my taste. I mean, that works to your advantage in some cases, but when you're trying to do something precision, it is not an easy thing, especially if you're trying to line things up on multiple axes. That is a pain in the butt. Doesn't have to be perfect, but my perfectionism, I do have some. I don't have much, but I have some. And it kind of doesn't want to let me just let things go as they are. Alright, so that looks okay. So, I'll then take the arms and I'll move them aside because I don't need them yet. I'll just put them here. Oh, that's front, top, and then there's also the back. So I did the same thing for the arm that I did for the body here. So that will be approximate, just a rough grouping here. So let me also, it's beautiful that I can select a group here. So I've got these three. Group those two under that one. That way I select one and I can move them all at once. I'll do the same thing for these guys. All three of them selected. But yep, there they go. So now I have all three of these selected. I can then scale it up. I'll also probably be able to manipulate that that side card a little easier now that it's roughly at a more manageable scale. So you select this. You come here. Side. Okay. Actually, let's select the entire thing and make sure that I am right there in the center on that black line. Like this center line is right here, up and down. Now, I select the side one. And scooch it on over. So that is a lot easier to manipulate now. Still really no easier to control, but whatever. At this point, I am curious if I were to bring in a PNG, if it would have a level of transparency. That would make things hella easier, I think. Anyway, this is a rough cut anyway. So these are all now going to be locked into position. That way I don't have to worry about accidentally selecting and moving it on accident. I don't want to do that. I will start This is approximately, yeah, I mean, this is roughly the same size as me. Getting close to it. He doesn't have to be my exact scale. I had done this setup a little earlier, and I had used some clay sculpt. If you want to create something that is exactly your size, one thing that you can do. This is amusing to me. Let's turn this off. Oh, turn this off. This is stay there. Why are you here? No. Okay, weird. Okay, that's annoying. Ah. Okay, well, anyway. One thing that I had done was I had taken some rough measurements of myself. And as you can see, that is my approximate height, of placement of my shoulders, my back, legs, and gut here, and my sides. So that's fun, but it's not 100% necessary for our purposes right now. Okay. All right, so one thing that I want to start with is I want to create a basic skeletal system because I want you to see the rough. So this will be fun. Kind of want to line things up. So let's make sure that I've got the settings correct. Single. And let's go ahead and turn mirror off just for this instance. Everything else I do will be mirrored, but the skull itself is going to stay fairly consistent. There we are. One human skull. I don't know why I was so obsessed with making sure that everything was lined up perfectly. I can always move it, actually. So let me do that now. Position that just as I need to. maybe a little smaller. Okay, so that's a good place to begin. I will name that Skull. Because I'm super creative with my naming conventions. New layer. Right. So this is for rough placement. I'm not actually going to be modeling a complete spine here. However, I might as well try and be as accurate as I can. Oh, really? Like, so we've come completely out of place. That's just rude. And trying to get this thing lined up is butt. Alright. So just approximate. Approximate. Okay. Okay, we're going to stay here. Lock that skull. Layers. I'm working on the new layer now. In clay. Oh, now I'll use mirror. Oh. Whoa! What the hell was happening there? That was freaky. Okay, so let's make this continuous. Actually, let's make that a little more centered. Alright, so that's essentially the spine. It does get a lot wider the closer to the bottom you get, but actually let's redo that again. Ah, look at that. Okay, so you can also increase the size as you go along. That's helpful. You also get to where I can actually work here. This also doesn't have to be You can sketch it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have one continuous, flawless line. You can make it as sketchy and rough as you need to. You can do it in segments until you're comfortable with it. You can also erase if you need to, if that makes you feel more comfortable about it, not knock it back a bit. Like I said, this isn't anatomically perfect. It's just supposed to give you the rough idea. Okay, so we're at the spine now. Alright, so that's the spine. Let's create a new layer. Let's name this spine. Right. This layer we will name rib cage. Start with the sternum. Huh. That's a really cool effect. I like that. Alright, so that's the rib bone right here. Now, I will preface this. I am not a doctor, and I am not, any stretch of the imagination, well versed in anatomical structures. So, if this is not anatomically accurate, I cannot be held responsible. So I'm doing this just because I kind of want to give myself a better understanding in 3D space of how all of the bony elements and muscle structures connect together so that when I sculpt something in 3D, I can have a better understanding of how it all fits together. One thing I definitely should have done, now that I'm thinking about it, is I should have brought in some more reference images of an actual skeleton. Because, I mean, I've got this guide, and that's coming out okay. But if I wanted it to be accurate, I need to actually see what I'm doing. I need to make I need to have a visual guide. Like right now, I'm just going from memory, and that's never actually a good idea. Then you got the, let's see. So this is the clavicle, which is basically your collarbone, which goes from here up to your shoulder. I really ought to take a look at some anatomy books to see if I've actually got the placement of that correct. I probably don't. Alright, so that's the upper arm. So that's coming along. Of course, I can select the upper arm and turn mirroring off, which well, that's unfortunate. I was kind of hoping that I could. Ooh. Hmm. I don't know if that actually did anything. Probably not. Oh. Duh. Okay. So, one thing I can do, if I want to have these two separate layers, I can duplicate this layer. Whoa. Oh, son of a... Okay, I need to go back here. Because apparently, me using the cut tool, I sliced the rib cage, and that's not what I actually wanted to do. What I did want to do was create two separate arms instead of just the one. So, I will duplicate the upper arm. So now I have two of them. And I will go into clay. Erase. Now, you won't be able to see, but I'm actually erasing this bone on this layer. So that when I go to this layer and turn it off, you'll see this one is missing. So let me turn this layer back on, and now I can erase this one. So now I have one arm and another arm. Alright, so I'm going to pause for now because I need to take a break, but I will be back. So, in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'm looking to continue this a little later on today. I'll try and track down some visual references, some guides for the skeletal system. That way I'm not just going off of memory, because that kind of defeats the purpose of all this. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back shortly.